In 1550, Istanbul was more than the Ottoman capital. It was the crossroads of continents where domes touched the clouds and ships from three worlds crowded its ports. Within these walls, imperial councils shaped a realm stretching from Hungary to Arabia. But how did this city control the fate of empires? The answer begins on the Bosporus. Salt spray lingers in the air as your ship glides along the Bosporus, the waterway that divides two continents yet binds them together. The prow points toward the Golden Horn, where sails and banners from every corner of the known world crowd the harbour. Ottoman galleys, their hulls tar-black and prows gilded, glide past Venetian carracks striped in red and white. Ragusan cogs, laden with Black Sea grain, jostle for space beside caravels from Alexandria, their decks stacked with sacks of pepper and bales of Persian silk. Cries in Turkish, Greek, Italian, and Ladino echo across the water, mingling with the rhythmic thud of oars and the clang of shipyard hammers. A northerly breeze carries the scent of cloves, frying oil, and briny fish from the bustling quays. Above the chaos, the city rises in tiers. Domes and slender minarets pierce the skyline. City walls stretch along the shore, and the first call to prayer drifts over the water. Here, at the heart of empire, Istanbul welcomes you with the promise of power, wealth, and the pulse of worlds colliding. Stone walls rise above manicured courtyards as you enter Topkapı Palace through the imperial gate, the Bab-i-Humayun. The city's bustle fades behind thick doors, replaced by the measured pace of palace life. Each courtyard draws you deeper into the workings of imperial authority. Guards in silk-trimmed kaftans watch every movement. Attendants hurry along shaded arcades carrying sealed documents and silver trays. Here, power is not hidden. It is staged, choreographed, and enforced with ritual precision. In the second courtyard, the Imperial Council Chamber, Kubialti, waits beneath its domed roof. The Grand Vizier presides from a long sofa, flanked by viziers, judges, and scribes. The Sultan's presence lingers behind a gilded lattice, unseen but always felt. 4 days a week, at dawn, the council gathers to debate taxes from Hungary, military campaigns on the Arab frontier, or the appointment of provincial governors. Every word is recorded by clerks in thick registers, every decree sealed with the Sultan's tughra. Decisions made here ripple out to distant provinces, shaping lives from Cairo to Belgrade. The machinery of empire runs on protocol, hierarchy, and the steady hand of the Grand Vizier. At the heart of the city stands Hagia Sophia, its immense dome resting on centuries of history. Once a church, then transformed after 1453 into the empire's central mosque, Hagia Sophia in 1550 embodies both conquest and continuity. 4 minarets rise beside the ancient walls, their slender forms a new language layered onto Byzantine stone. Inside, the vast nave glows with filtered light. Ottoman calligraphy encircles the old mosaics, and the mihrab now points the faithful toward Mecca. Each Friday, as noon approaches, the Sultan's name is spoken in the khutbah from the marble pulpit. This public prayer is more than ritual. It proclaims the Sultan's authority, binding faith and rule before the city's eyes. Here, the past is not erased but woven into the present. The dome that once echoed with hymns now carries the words of the Quran, and the people gathered beneath it witness the fusion of empire and belief. Hagia Sophia stands as the spiritual anchor of Istanbul, its silhouette a promise of both power and devotion. On the third hill, stone and scaffolding rise together in the spring air. This is the Süleymaniye, a vision ordered by Sultan Suleiman and shaped by the hands of Mimar Sinan. In 1550, the ground is alive with labourers hauling limestone and marble, their movements guided by the plans of the empire's chief architect. The foundation stones promise more than grandeur. They promise care for the soul and body of the city. The plans, sealed in the Sultan's vakfiye, lay out a city within a city, a mosque to gather the faithful, a darussifa for the sick, soup kitchens to feed the hungry, madrasas for the pursuit of knowledge, and public baths for the sake of health and dignity. Every wall and arch is drawn to serve, not just to awe. Suleiman's name is inscribed not only above the doors but in the daily acts of charity the complex will sustain. Sinan, already famed for his mastery, refines the dome's design to outshine ancient rivals. By the decade's end, the skyline will be crowned by this new sanctuary, a monument to power expressed through public good. Inside the Grand Bazaar, the city's commercial heart beats with restless energy. Narrow lanes branch beneath vaulted roofs packed with merchants and porters from every corner of the empire. Silk bolts from Tabriz shimmer in the lamplight, while sacks of pepper and cinnamon from India fill the air with their sharp perfume. Giorgio, a Venetian merchant, haggles with a guild master over a bale of raw silk, his account book tucked close, eyes wary of Ottoman customs officials tallying every sale. Here, trade is not chaos, but careful order. Each craft and stall is governed by a guild, each transaction weighed in Ottoman aksa. Coffee, still a novelty from Yemen, appears in small, precious parcels, drawing curious glances and whispered debates among the stalls. The guilds enforce strict rules. Adulterated spices are fined, counterfeit coinage is seized, and apprentices learn their trade beneath the watchful gaze of masters. Customs ledgers record the city's wealth as it flows in, goods from Persia, India, and Arabia, profits that ripple outward to fund shipyards and palaces. In this maze of commerce, order and ambition walk hand in hand. Crowds gather in the Hippodrome, now called At Meidani, where the city's civic life unfolds on a grand scale. Stone relics from Byzantium, like the obelisk of Theodosius and the coiled serpent column, stand as silent witnesses to centuries of imperial ceremony. On festival days, Janissaries march in crisp formation, their ranks flanked by guild banners and curious children perched on shoulders. The Sultan's processions sweep through, horses tossing their heads beneath embroidered canopies, while officials announce victories or royal births to the gathered throng. Here, public proclamations echo off ancient stones, and the city's pulse beats strongest when tens of thousands fill the square for spectacles or imperial decrees. Beyond the Hippodrome, the aqueduct of Valens arches across the city, channeling water from distant springs to fountains and baths. This lifeline, first built by emperors, now sustains a city grown to nearly 500,000 Turks, Greeks, Armenians, Jews, each drawing from the same stone veins. Istanbul's scale is measured not only in monuments but in the daily flow of people and water, binding neighborhoods into a single, living city. Hammers ring out along the Golden Horn, where the imperial shipyards churn day and night. Here, Thousands of men, including shipwrights, caulkers, and rope makers, move in tight formation, each task timed to the rhythm of empire. Ahmed, a master shipwright, inspects a new galley's ribs, running calloused hands over oak beams destined for the Mediterranean. The air is thick with tar, sawdust, and the shouts of foremen driving teams to meet the Sultan's deadlines. Each galley is more than wood and canvas. It is a weapon, a promise, a tool of Ottoman reach. From these slips, fleets set out for North Africa, enforcing the Sultan's will from Algiers to the Aegean. The shipyards themselves are a city within the city, organized by guild, guarded by janissaries, fueled by taxes flowing in from conquered lands. As the sun dips, the clangor of labor lingers, a reminder that the empire's might is built plank by plank, oar by oar. As the sun slips behind the hills, the city's clamor softens into a gentle murmur. Narrow streets twist through quarters where Turks, Greeks, Armenians, and Jews return home beneath fading banners of laundry. In the Jewish quarter, Sarah, a spice merchant, closes her stall and greets neighbors in Ladino and Turkish, her basket still fragrant with cinnamon and pepper. A few doors down, laughter drifts from the hammam as friends share news and rinse away the day's dust. From a shaded courtyard, the aroma of roasted beans hints at a novelty, coffee newly arrived from Arabia. Men gather in a small room debating poetry and politics over steaming cups, their voices low in the evening hush. As the last light gilds the domes, the call to prayer rises once more, threading through the alleys and over rooftops. In this hour, the city's divisions blur, and Istanbul breathes as one. The stones and skyline of Istanbul still shape a city at the heart of global crossroads, now home to over 15 million people. As borders shift and powers rise and fall, its legacy reminds us the true center of the world is always where cultures meet. Share your city below.